Hello again. This is Foghorn with another installment of Flight School Academics for the 4th of April, 2950 or 2020 if you're stuck in the past. This presentation is part of an ongoing series of academics for the members of the Aurora Republic, the premier role-playing organization in Star Citizen. If you are new to the Aurora Republic or visiting for the first time, please let me start by saying welcome. Glad to have you with us and would love to hear more from you if you'd like to hear more from us. We're a lawful good organization focused on roleplay exploration and social interaction and are currently active and recruiting on Spectrum and Discord. Okay, first, really no org announcements, no guests, no new members or anything. Been a quiet week since we last spoke. Rules of engagement. I am simulcasting this on both Twitch and within our own Discord chat, so remember there is a broadcast delay on Twitch, so you probably want to mute, or not mute, you want to deafen one or the other, so that you're not hearing my voice twice with a delay and an echo, which would probably make it really hard to figure out what the heck I'm saying, which is already going to be hard enough tonight. We are going to talk about component management, specifically how to swap things out within the vehicle loadout manager. I've fielded some questions from a few folks who were looking to kind of find out how that's done. So I agreed that sure, that would be worth a Saturday Night Academics. Plus it'll be fast and easy, and then I can go to bed. So without further ado, for all of you slimy Frenchmen out there, we'll get right down to it. So component gameplay is a big part of the spacecraft gameplay at the moment, and will grow in the future because there's more component types and things coming out in the future. But right currently, what we're specifically talking about is when the current types of components are categorized into these four broad buttons on the vehicle loadout manager. So this is where you'll look for them when you first open up that app, and I have a couple screenshots that'll explain everything here in a sec. But basically, the four tabs across the top on that app is miscellaneous. For some reason, missiles are considered miscellaneous instead of weaponry at the moment. I suspect that'll change in the future. And then the utility items, such as right now mining heads. So mining heads live under miscellaneous as well for swapping those out on a ship. Then propulsion is specifically and only quantum drives. In the future, if we are able to start swapping out thruster systems, such as your main thruster engines or the MAVs, the maneuvering thrusters, then I imagine that particular tab will fill out with additional types and categories. Under systems is where you'll find your coolers, power pants, and your shield generators. And then weaponry, the last tab, has the missile racks, but not the missiles, just the missile racks. Weapons, meaning, and by weapons they mean the guns, and the gimbal mounts that you could put on those hard points. So the vehicle loadout manager is the tool in your mobiGlas that you use to actually swap out components and customize your rig, your spacecraft, once from what it is initially attributed to your count as from stock. So from stock into whatever custom you want to do. So for the purposes of this discussion, we're going to assume that you've already gone out and bought components that you want to swap in and out. So I'm not going to go over how to go buy those and stuff at kiosks. That's outside the scope of this particular academics. But basically, let's see here. Can you capture? Yep. Okay, you got my cursor. So once you open up F1, open up your mobiGlas down to the lower left, across the 8 master buttons down across the button. The second one from the left that has the little spacecraft icon on it is your vehicle loadout manager. You click that. This screen comes up. It'll come up blank at first until you pick a ship. So you'll pull that drop down in the upper right, and that will have your inventory of available spacecraft. There is a spacecraft duplication bug. So if you have more hammerheads or vanguards or anything than what you actually purchased, and that shows up that way at the ASOP terminal kiosk on the ship deck, then it will also show up here identically. So, you know, if you have, like I said, these extra ships that just show up because they got duped in whatever the glitch is, then they show up here as well. So once you decide when, and oh, by the way, if your ship has been spawned anywhere, your ship has to be in storage to be able to manipulate it. If your ship is spawned anywhere, it is now read-only, and when you hit this pull down next to the ships that are currently spawned into the universe, they'll have a little red lock icon, and which you can still select them to look at them here, but you won't be able to manipulate them at all. You won't be able to change any of the loadout. They'll have a little red lock icon on the pull down, and then if you still select it so you can look at it here on the hologram, up in the upper right corner of the grid, it'll have that lock icon, and it will say in words read only, so that you know that you can't manipulate this. And oh, by the way, everything in the component section, that entire column will just be blank, to also let you know the slots over on the left will still be there, but the column for components to put in said slots will be blank, and you won't be able to manipulate anything. If your ship is stored, and by stored I mean hasn't been spawned anywhere, it just simply says stored and no location on the ASOP terminal, then it is manipulatable in here. If your ship has been spawned into the universe and then has been stored at a station, so when you go look at the ASOP terminal, it says, you know, stored at Lorville, for example, you can't manipulate that anywhere except for when you are standing at Lorville. So you have to be at the same, if you have spawned a ship in and then let it time out and get stored, or you spawned a different ship so that the ASOP terminal stored it, then you can still manipulate that ship while it's stored if you are at the same base that it's at. So that's a sort of a nuanced thing. I don't think that's exactly the way they want it. They're still tweaking this code and getting it more dialed in. But the quick and easy is to just claim your ship so that they're in that vanilla stored at no location. Just they're in the spacecraft magic bag of holding, and you'll be able to manipulate it anywhere that you're at physically through the vehicle loadout manager app. Okay, so once you got the ship that you want to work on, and it's not read-only, it's manipulatable, then your 4 tabs across the top, just like I showed in the last slide, you got miscellaneous propulsion systems and weaponry. I happen to have the weaponry tab selected in this screenshot. So that's the first thing, is grab the broad category. Within that category, down the left, the first left-hand column will be the slots for within that category, and in each of those slots, the top will be the generic type of it. So this is a missile rack slot number 1, missile rack slot number 2, and then underneath it in slightly smaller font and slightly darker bluer font will be the current exact make and model of what component is in that slot. So in missile rack 1 here on this Avenger Titan Renegade, you can see is a 322 missile rack. So it's a size 3 missile rack, but it is holding 2 size 2 missiles. Boop, boop, boop. So yeah, that 3-digit code on missile racks is size of the parent mount. The second one is the number. The third one is the size of the missile. So this is a size 3 missile rack that's carrying 2 size 2s. Similarly, here on the weaponry tab, you have missile racks. You can have gimbals. Also shows up here if you have any gimbals put into a gun slot, weapon slot, and then of course you'll either have the gun on the parent mount, or if you are using a gimbal, then it'll do this little sub. Not drop down, but a sub bullet, I guess, with the weapon that's in there. If you want to change that, like if I wanted to change this Mantis GT220 out to something else, the second column from the left is the list of components that will fit in those slots. The list does not show you anything that is of a smaller or bigger size. It won't show you anything that is not mountable to that exact position that you have highlighted in the left of these two columns. So as you can see right now, these are Quarreler laser autocannon, CF 337 Panthers, the Mantis, the Tarantula, the Predators are all different weapons that I could put on that gimbal, that size 4 down to size 3 gimbal mount. So these are all size 3 weapons. It's not going to show me any size 2 or size 1 or size 4 weapons. If I go up and I click on this, where this very puck mount is, it will show me size 4 weapons that I could replace that puck with, and it will unmount the child of that parent spot. Within that second column, you'll see available in use. So the addition of those two numbers will be how many you own in inventory. So like I've apparently have 14 mantises in my personal inventory, but you see they're all in use. I have not bought any mantises, so apparently I own a lot of ships that have mantises mounted on them. Stock. So that's why I have 14 and 0, because I don't have any sitting around. But up here for the Panthers, I've got 6 Panther lasers that are being used somewhere in my fleet, and I have 4 that are sitting around not attached to anything. So the reason I'm bringing that up is if I was going to swap out this Mantis GT220, if I pick a weapon if I pick a component to replace it with that has some available, when I click right here, this is just a screenshot, so it's not actually functioning. I'm not in game here, but if I clicked right there, it would just automatically go ahead and mount that to that spot. Now, none of these changes are just like your personal equipment manager. None of these changes take effect until you hit Save Changes and Equip down in the lower right corner. It all works the same as far as the methodology. If you have a situation where all of them are already in use somewhere else, you don't have any left over laying around your shop inside the magic bag of holding, then that one situation, if I tried to equip, say I tried to equip one of these tarantulas to that spot, I don't have any laying around as available. They're all mounted up on other ships somewhere. So when you click there, boom, it would switch to this, and it would tell you, now this is for Mantis 220s, but you get the gist, that it shows me everywhere that has one of those guns already mounted on another ship. So this is, if I were to click on this, on the Anvil Valkyrie Liberator turret gun left, I would automatically pull it from right here. Just by clicking that, it would pull it off that Liberator, and it would mount it over here where I told it to mount. And be sitting there waiting with a little like automobile style caution triangle telling that there's a change there waiting, pending, and when I hit Save Changes and Equip, it would then happen. The last window that you kind of care about here is you could actually get expanded data on that component, whatever it is. So like I said, if I clicked on here on the Mantis, which I had, then it gives you a picture. Some of these pictures aren't quite right yet. There's like portions of, that obviously doesn't look like a gun. It doesn't look like that chain gun that's right there on the nose, which is what we're looking at. So this hologram right here, or this picture, sometimes this 3D model doesn't render correctly yet. It's another glitch, but it does give you what the size, grade of the component is, and it has the description of it that you can scroll through. So you can actually you can kind of do some planning in here. You can see what the art of the possible is. This works great for swapping out components, but as far as planning out into the future, it's a little bit not enough information. So I still find myself using my notepad and pencil that I keep next to my keyboard and mouse and everything to go, okay, I'm going to move these, blah, 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 blah. And scribble out some notes on, okay, that thing's a size this. I will have this many of them. I'm actually thinking about putting them over there, and that means that I would take off those many of those things, and I could use those over someplace else. So you can get pretty complicated if you have a big fleet. And I believe that is about it in a nutshell. So are there any questions? I will tap dance for a few moments. Just because of the stream delay. I hope that was useful and fairly clear, even though I'm running on very little sleep, almost none.
Fog.
Yes, ma'am.
what happens to the what? Now I'm hearing myself double. What happens to the missile that was on there when you put a new missile?
It just goes into your inventory in your magic
Okay.
bag of holding. Yeah,
Okay.
nothing disappears off of there. There was earlier in a glitch. Now, a lot of people have been speculating that there will be a partial wipe versus a full wipe of the database coming in 3.9 here in a week or two, or whenever they get it out to us. I think a lot of that's wishful thinking. I'm kind of leading towards the camp of it's going to be a full wipe, because not only was there money duplication glitches and bugs that were found and some exploited. They weren't easy to do, so they weren't super exploited by a lot of the player base, but they are there. There were also there's the automatic ship duplication problem that's happening in the ASOP terminals. And through that, there was component duplicate a component, actually two different methodologies for duplicating components the same way. There was some hat trickery that you could pull off by putting the loadout that you wanted to duplicate on on ship A, spawn it, then force it to despawn by spawning ship B, climbing in ship B, and flying to a different port. When you get there, claiming ship A, and then while it's in the cooldown timer, pull all of the components and everything off of it and put it on ship C. And then when the cooldown timer gets to the end and it gives you ship A back, ship A comes back with all of those components, and now you've duplicated those components. I actually fiddled with that. I was in on the issue council and saw that one. There's actually a second way of doing that as well, but I can't remember it off the top of my head. So there was, I confirmed that you could in fact dupe components. I duped like a JS500 power plant and a bunch of Panther repeaters and things like that, just to confirm the issue council report. And so I ran around for about 2 or 3 weeks with a bunch of duped components. However, they must have done some sort of hot fix or something on the backside servers, because I logged in 2 or 3 days ago, and all of those duplicated components, not ships, but the components that were duplicated, all went away completely out of my account without me having done anything. Just boop, I logged in and they were all gone, and only the stuff that I had bought was there. So, like I said, I was leaning towards it's probably going to be a full wipe, because they're having ship duplication problems, they're having component duplication problems, and obviously money duplication problems. So they're, all of this feeding frenzy of people trying to spend up all of their cash, make more cash, spend up all their cash to components, because they thought components weren't going to get wiped. I was leaning away from that. I was thinking, no, it's going to be a full persistence database wipe and start over. But now that suddenly happened, I'm a little leaning back towards the other camp of, well, maybe they won't. If they figured out how to fix it and they were able to correct it in in some sort of a hot fix on the backside, in the back end services, and corrected it, then okay, well, maybe they won't. Maybe it'll only be a money wipe and not a the purchased ships, personal items, and components might stay. So, like I said, I was leaning away from that in personal expectation, and now I'm sort of leaning back the other way, going like, maybe it will. We'll see. If it ends up being a full wipe, okay, big deal. It's still alpha. It'll just start over and go do it again. But it may not. All of the hard work from the last few weeks of grinding may have paid off. We don't know. For now, because it will eventually get wiped. Everything is going to get wiped at some point in the future. So I probably spoke a lot more than I really needed to answer that question. But that happens when you're tired. Any other questions, folks? Going thrice? Going twice? Going once? All right, this wraps up this installment of Academics with Foghorn. Hope you found it interesting, helpful. If you have any questions that I didn't answer, please feel free to contact me via email, Discord, Spectrum, or the comment section below for those that are watching on YouTube and Twitch later, and I will answer it to the best of my ability as soon as I see it. member and visitor alike. Please feel free to hit those follows and subscribe buttons as appropriate. Leave us a comment. We do actually read all the feedback and are always striving to improve our stuff. So you can find out more information at aurorarepublic.space or on Spectrum at robertspaceindustries.com/org/aurora-rep. I will see you next time. This is Foghorn signing off and wishing you a pleasant remainder of your morning, afternoon, and or evening. Thank you very much for watching. For the org, it's an open fly night. I don't have anything formal planned because I'm liquid and I'm going to bed. So I'm probably just going to bid you adieu here in a few minutes. And you guys can go make your own fun. Go inflict yourselves upon the verse. You have my blessings. All right. Thank you very much. Good night, stream.